Hello, gamers. Recording this earlier than I normally do. I'm drinking my coffee. Notice I forgot a couple things. Anyway. Today's, or this month's rather, let me add in. Okay. Today's thing isn't super duper long, but I'm probably going to ramble on for around half an hour anyway, while I'm sipping my morning coffee. Alright, so in the big 26, what have we played in May? Well, I tried out Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 3 Remake. Randos. They are pretty decent. My favorite feature is mostly for RE2, it's not as necessary for RE3, is that whenever you get ammo, it will give you a full stack. Well, you can choose for it to do that. I choose for it to do it because Resident Evil 2 Remake, for those who don't know, I don't like it. I think it's a stinker. Not like a horrible game, but not an enjoyable one for multiple reasons. If you're ever curious as to why, maybe I'll make a video about why I dislike Resident Evil 2 Remake. And I'm not saying this as someone who played the original first. No, I played that game first. I was playing through them in order on Steam. So, played Resident Evil 1. Can't remember if I played 0 or 2 after that. 2, the remake, of course. And I did not jive with it. And I like 3 a lot more, which apparently is like the inverse opinion of most people. Anyway, they're okay. I can see why they aren't in pubs. They need a slight bit of work, I feel. But pretty good randomizers. Warframe, they made Thick Goth Clown Mommy, as some would say. Yeah, there's not much to say about that. There was like the anniversary event, I played some of that. Razorback Armada. There was a Formorian, but it only lasted for like 8 hours. And I didn't get to do it. But it's a typical Warframe grind, trademark copyright. They also put in a Coda Bubonico, and I am absolutely pleased. As Bubonico is one of my most favorite weapons, so getting an upgrade is pretty dang neat. Next up, wait a second. What? You guys can't see this, but Notepad auto-corrected me writing Pokemon to the trademarked form, where it's got that accent on the E. Anyways, playing Pokemon Lazarus, a somewhat recent fan game. Not sure when it came out, but I was pointed towards it. I played through it. It's dang good. I highly recommend. It really reminds me of what I used to like about the Pokemon series, where it adds to the games but doesn't take away. It's got so many features from so many of the games and mini games and whatnot from legacy things. It was pretty good. Dang good. The pixel art was, for the most part, well done. I say for the most part because the female, what's the thing, Pyroar, one of the eyes look a bit off to me, but other than that, it's pretty dang good. The art style is done in like the Game Boy Color style. The battle backgrounds are well detailed and pleasant to look at. My biggest gripe of the game is the music. It doesn't sound good. And I honestly don't know what to say beyond that. It's just, I did not like most of the soundtrack. Though I did find it a bit amusing that the underwater music was the song, well, the Ballad of the Windfish from Link's Awakening, just slightly remixed. But yeah, Pokemon Lazarus. I highly recommend it. Go out there and play it if you want to play a spiffy Pokemon game. It's got like 430 Pokemon in it. That's not including variants. Like, you can get any variation of a Mon that exists in the game. So like there's Meowth, so you can get all the Meowths. You can get regular Raichu and Alolan. I won't spoil the entire cast, but those guys are kind of a given, so I figured I'd let you know. They also put in new Mega Evolutions. I won't spoil for what, but saying some of your favorite guys might have a spiffy new form for Pokemon Lazarus. Sure, it's not canon, but, it is what it is. Started a new game of Fallout New Vegas, just trying to use DLC energy weapons, because I haven't had the DLC for the game for the longest time, so I haven't really used a lot of the new things. Like, this is my third time playing through, essentially, of the DLC. And so I've been trying out things like Gunrunner Arsenal weapons, like the Spurtle Wood and Smitty Special. They're decent. I've also been making a point to make use of weapons in the DLCs they come from, usually. Like, there's only one energy weapon unique to Honest Hearts, for instance, where it's called the Compliance Regulator, and it is a fun weapon because it paralyzes on crit, and I have a max luck build. But the issue is that it is a laser pistol, and a weak one at that. So it's fun for making guys fall over, but there are other guns that do the same, really. The hollow rifle, I spiffed it out. It was pretty interesting. Shoots like a cube. And sometimes it just confounds me where the cube just goes through an enemy. I don't know why that is. But it's a pretty dang solid gun. I didn't do Lonesome Road yet. I kind of got a bit bored. I was mostly playing the game to kill time while waiting for the month's Path of Exile 2 update. And yeah, it didn't last me the whole month, sadly. More randomizers. I dug around a bit, found, well, I say I found, like I haven't seen them before, but I decided to give a test spin of Donkey Kong Country 2, Wario Land 1, and Zelda 2. Managed to get them working, and Donkey Kong Country 2 is great. Sorry. It's great. And also the randomizer is great. It certainly shows up the Donkey Kong Country 3 randomizer. Granted, I can't be like, oh, it's because Polygon is stinky. No, I think there's more to it than that, because DKC 3 is like pushing the SNES to its limits, for better or worse. That doesn't stop the fact that the game kind of wasn't that great. I'm not of the camp that DKC 3 is bad. I'm more like, how do I put this? DKC 2 is, of course, the king of the trilogy. Hands down. There's not really a bad level in the game, but there are plenty of challenging levels. And plenty of fun levels. DKC 1 is my least favorite of the trilogy, because it just... by the end of World 2, I just get bored. Like, the rest of the game is just kind of more of the same. You've seen all that, you've seen it all. Like, what levels can I say are really great in that game? Like, Orangutan Gang in World 3 is probably my favorite level in DKC 1. I don't really remember much else. It's not a bad game, it's just, it's kind of dull after a while. And DKC 2 really kicks it up a notch. Well, not a notch, but like several notches. DKC 3 is a step back from DKC 2. It's got some similar design philosophy, but there's also a super heavy reliance on gimmicks. Every stage has some sort of gimmick to it, for better or worse, and like half the levels are good, half the levels are stinkers. And it's not as an enjoyable game to play through. And all the bosses effing suck! Like, they suck so bad. Like, the final boss For half of it, you don't even need to move. You just sit there and wait for the phase to get over. Because the thing is like, it's a cannon that shoots from the background into the foreground, but it always shoots the same 4 spots. And there are like 3 big areas for you to just AFK in. Until a barrel appears and you can throw it at them. I don't really know what they were trying to do. But like the bosses in DKC3 are tests of patience more than anything else. Whereas DKC2 is a lot more involved, a lot more spectacular, a lot more fun. Now, talking about the actual rando, it shuffles, of course, one of the Kongs. You don't have to shuffle Kongs, but I do. You, of course, get one of them by default, so... It shuffles bonus barrels, shuffles DK coins. It can shuffle banana coins, but I didn't test that feature. You can shuffle bananas if you're absolutely insane, but I did not because I'm not fond of those sort of things in rando. Not unless I'm like playing by myself, I guess. It also shuffles your animal buddies. It shuffles a lot of your moves. It shuffles. We should say Kong tokens are a check, which is fine for most levels, but there are some levels where the bonus goal at the end requires you to hit it at the right time to get the G. So, if you miss time, it can be a stinker, but I've been playing the game for, let's see. I want to say 30 years at least. Right? When did I get it? I don't know. It's been forever. Let's just put it at that. Anyway, it's great, and I hope whatever issues they have to get it into live get fixed, and that it gets put into live, because DKC2 is one of the best games of all times. I say that with full confidence. If you like a moderately challenging platformer that has great visuals, great music, great gameplay, DKC2 is a really damn good choice. It is one of my 10 out of 10 games. Moving on to the next rando, Wario Land. This one, I can see why it is not available on public yet. It is very much in an early state. There's a lot of squiffiness with it. There's not any way to back out of a level mid-level without killing yourself or hoofing it back to the entrance, which isn't always a choice you can do in levels. Yeah, it's just very rough around the edges. It works, I can say that much, but it could use more work, is what I'm getting at. But testing was successful. I I just wouldn't use it in an async myself right now because I don't feel like it's super duper stable, but you know, it is what it is, as I say more than I probably should. Zelda 2! Great rando. You can choose your levels if you want to be a nerd by putting in a thing for starting at a higher level with certain stats. I elect not to do this. It shuffles pretty much all pickups except for fairies. It shuffles spells and moves. You can even shuffle Key Sanity if you want, which I did. Not within the full Key Sanity, but within dungeons. As I didn't want to be hoofing it from one end of Hyrule to the other, just to make eeks of progress. My cup is running empty. Alright, next game, Terraria. Played a bit of that. My hand is very grumpy with me because of it. I don't know what I need to do to help my hand to play Terraria anymore. Because I love Terraria. It's a good game. All I did in it was basically clear the dungeon out of everything except for the biome chests. And of course I killed Skeletron so I could get in there and do that. Yeah, it sucks that my hand's this way. Yeah, I went in there, I snapped up all the bookshelves and books. I snatched all the furniture, all the paintings and background decorations. I snatched up the lamps and light switches. And I can't remember if I was finished or was in the middle of taking all of the wiring out of the background by the time I got the second Nazar that I was looking for, so I can make the counter curse mantra. Yeah, I pretty much stripped the dungeon naked. But that's all I did with Terraria, wasn't much. Then, in my attempts of keeping myself busy until the Path of Exile 2 update, was Dark Souls 3. I have been working on trying to get all of the achievements for the game, like I did with Dark Souls 1 and Elden Ring. Dark Souls 3 is apparently among the most notorious for being tortuous to get the achievements for, because the achievements for collecting all rings can only be obtained by playing into New Game Plus Plus. Most of the other games you don't really need to get into further than New Game Plus. And yeah, so it's going to be interesting working my way through all that stuff. I'm close to the end of the vanilla game. I will, of course, before hitting the Dreg Heap, I will be heading to the DLC, because I'd like to have Gale for the fight against Frida, because that fight sucks. And then I'll move on to Dreg Heap. I do not like the Ashes of Ariandel DLC. It just fucking sucks. I'm going to say it straight up with a swear and all. There's like an issue I have with the Souls games DLCs in general, where they make the game harder by scaling everything's HP and damage numbers up to ludicrous levels. And this is across the entire series. Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Bloodborne, none of them are free of sin. I feel like Elden Ring's DLC is the first time they actually got it right. Because, yeah, things do a lot of damage at the start, but if you explore around, get all the Shadow Tree blessings, you can mitigate the damage things do and increase the damage you do. So that you can make the game feel more reasonable, and that just felt so much better to me. But, digression aside, Ashes of Ariandel, the fight with Sister Fried is just... The first phase... It still sucks, but, like, I've kind of got it down in a way. You just basically have to keep track of where she disappears off to, because she's all invisible and whatnot. Phase 2 can be rather annoying. Because it's still Fried running around being a nuisance, but there's now also a guy with a giant bowl of chili spilling it everywhere, giving everyone pepper burns and all that. It's not the hardest, it's just annoying. And then phase 3 is where things get CBT, because all of her attacks are just wide sweeping, highly damaging, and virtually relentless. If I remember right, the cheese tactic to use for her in general is just like a range, so use crossbows or bows and just keep your distance and you'll eventually win, which is the same tactic you can use for Nameless King's second form. But it just really sucks. It's not fun. The Dreg Heap and Ring City, though, I like. Again, though, the biggest issue I have is that everything does overtuned levels of damage. So you're always being 1 to 2 shot, and it's just fucking frustrating. And come on, brain work. Sip the last of my cup. Making your way through Dreg Heap is pretty cool, though. And the Ring City is for the most part interesting. I do not like the fight with Dark Eater Midir. It is a rather sucky dragon boss. Again, mostly because of the overtune levels of damage he does. Like, I think if you get Zorched by his laser beams, there's a 0% chance of survival. Like, no matter how you're built. If I remember right, I don't remember. In any case, it sucks. That's mostly what I'm getting at here. However, on the inverse, Slave Knight Gale, chef's kiss. Absolute banger of a boss. He's just super fun. His first phase, he's more bestial, and so you gotta fight him that way. His second and third phase, he's upright and fights you as a knight, and people often like to point out the poetic nature of the fight, where at the end of time, there's just two nameless swallows fighting it out. Something like that. It's interesting. But it's a fun fight. It's hard for me to put into words. It's just something you'd have to experience for yourself. Maybe you can watch it through somebody else's playthrough if you don't have the chutzpah or desire. But it is an excellent capstone to the Dark Souls trilogy, ending with a rather fantastic boss. But again, does over 10 levels of damage, so you make one mistake and you're just fucked. Finally, we get on to Path of Exile 2. Unfortunately, I'm not where the majority of the changes are at yet. I'm pretty close though. I'm in the interludes right now, which is just before endgame, which is where all the big changes come. I am playing as Monk for the first time, and I'm trying out the new class for Monk, which is called Martial Artist. I'm so far I just have 2 ascendancies. So I have Fist of Stone, which converts any glove you wear, and you can also equip any glove without meeting requirements, but any glove you wear is converted into a level scaling amount of energy shields and evasion, and it transforms the effects that the gloves you wear have. From what I've seen, gloves with a resistance to a particular element, the elemental resistance doesn't get changed, but like everything else does. Like, how... trying to think of a good example. If you have something with an effect that gives you bonus E-shields and evasion, it also becomes scaling with level. If you have... the unique gloves I have on have a minus like 20% mana recovery rate, I believe. It got turned into you cannot leech mana, which I suppose is fine. I was kind of thinking about putting Mono Leech on, but while I have that effect, it's not going to be worthwhile. But I've been mostly getting my mana recovery, of course, from a flask or from culling with my Killing Palm move. Trying to brain here. The other skill I have is... I don't remember its name, but it summons ghost bells periodically. And they are fantastic because they count for calling with your Killing Palm. So you can just get free power charges and calling procs off of them, as well as hitting the bells act like the bell move in a way where it sends out a shockwave that damages in an area. My next Ascendancy, I'm going to be getting the next one on the Ghost Bell tree, which puts a Ghost Bell on my back that procs anytime you land a crit, which sends out a damage shockwave, which sounds pretty dang neat. After that, if I manage to get a 4th Ascendancy, that's going to go into the rune tattoos, I believe. That's what I'm planning on right now, at least. The other skill I'm thinking of is the one where you can summon specters of yourself to do attacks. But I think I'd rather have the rune tattoos that late in the game. Or more defense and rounding off my character for any weaknesses they may have. But yeah, Path of Exile 2. They shook up Act 3. They moved around a lot of stuff and they added a few new things. Act 1 and 2, the new league mechanic is put into them, where you talk to this goober with a tuning fork and you look for like runes, and you can choose your prize from the slabs in each other area, and you fight off a swarm of enemies. And when you beat them all, you get your prize, which is, again, you get to choose what you can get. But there's also a source of many new runes, socket runes, that you can get. Like one that gives you 200% extra critical chance, but you don't get critical damage bonus. So if you want to just focus on getting crit procs, then that is a great rune for you. There's a whole manner of things. I haven't even seen them all. There's numerous new runes. My voice is starting to give out. But that's it for this month. June, you can probably expect me to talk about Path of Exile again, as I doubt very much so that I'll just be over with the content of the game today. There's more to come, more to see. What else will come in June? I don't really have a forecast of anything at this point. Not like my forecasts ever land. But again, I have rambled on for another 40 minutes, so thank you all for listening, and we'll see you in June. Peace, love, dope. Now get the heck out.